Hi, I'm Dexter Valles of Valma International. We are a consultancy based in Mumbai. We are involved in the areas of human resource management and behavior, especially behavioral sciences, including the specific skill and competence of emotional intelligence. Now, you must have heard the word emotional intelligence quite often. So, what is it to you? In the past, when we talked about emotional intelligence, one often thought of it as being emotional. But emotional intelligence is about managing emotions in such a way that you produce the best results. It's not about being emotional, it's about taking the emotions and passing it through the filter of intelligence. So it's basically using different parts of your brain, and that's how your mind gets hardwired if you practice it enough. Now, we've had years of practicing some kind of emotional intelligence or things that we thought were emotionally intelligent, but let's see how. So, emotional intelligence, as we've just said, is about being able to recognize, label, and understand your emotions, not run away from them, so that you can manage them better, work with them, so that you can produce the optimal results that you want. And these results are not results in themselves, but these results are through managing relationships that drive those results. Yes, we need people to get things done. We still are human beings. And of course, some of the time we are human doings. So I'm here to talk very quickly about how do you demonstrate emotional intelligence on an everyday basis. Well, the most common way, and I'm sure you would have figured this out by now, is the way we communicate with each other. It's the most used competence and skill that we have as people. We talk to each other, hopefully, most of the time. And yes, there's a lot of self-talk that goes on. So there's a lot written about how you should be talking to yourself, how you should be positive about what you believe in, how you should be able to say all the good things about yourself. And the same goes for people. How do you communicate in such a way that people feel good about you and feel positively inclined to do things that you'd like them to do, and therefore have a good relationship? But sometimes we confuse good with harmonious. We confuse good with smooth. We confuse good with lack of conflict. But that's really not what good is about. That's not what sound is about. Having a sound relationship is talking about having an emotionally intelligent relationship. So when we communicate, what are we really saying to the other person? A quick test of this would be to see whether we are either aggressive in the way we communicate, which means go out there and get things done, doesn't matter what people feel about it, soon they'll learn to accept what's getting done, and you can go on with life, of course, by being top dog, by being the tough, perhaps ruthless leader who gets things done, produces shining results, and finally gets admired for it. Or you can opt for the harmonious, smooth way, manage your relationship by simply agreeing to whatever the other person says. Be in step, be in sync, be in flow, and agree. It's about being submissive. It's about being passive, not being aggressive. In fact, sometimes one would think it's the opposite of aggressive, but it's not really that. Being submissive and passive has its own kind of formula. Doesn't work all the time, because after some time, guess what? When you have practiced enough being a doormat, as sometimes you can be, agreeing with everybody, not offering your point of view, not creating any conflict, not rocking the boat, it becomes a little tiring, because there's so much inside you that you have bottled up and you can't say it, that one day at an unfortunate time you may say it all together to the wrong person at the wrong time, and for the wrong results. So, one is go out with your boxing gloves, knock everyone dead. Aggressive, or be a great synchronizer, harmonizer, smoother of everything. Be a softie, ice cream, which will melt. Yeah, not the Rocky Road chocolate. But there has to be a middle path. It's a little more simplistic than what really is. The middle path is what we call assertive. In fact, assertiveness is a hallmark competence of EQ, or emotional quotient, or emotional intelligence as we call it, practiced in the real world. It is how we apply EQ that makes the difference, not about how much we know about EQ. Knowledge has never sorted anything out. Of course, it helps. So, assertiveness is a key communication competence. It's the middle of the road, but not really middle. It's about choosing, making definite choices about how you want to communicate and about what. It's about standing up for your rights and the rights of others, and being responsible for managing your rights and the rights of others. Yes, we live in a world in which we relate to each other. So we are not really only concerned about what is our rights. We are also concerned about what other people's rights are. That allows us to manage the balance between asserting ourselves about what we want, and the borderline would be getting aggressive and not listening to the other and not bothering about the other person's rights, and therefore taking no responsibility for that, or withdrawing, contracting, and agreeing to everything, not creating any conflict, being a nice guy, nice person, which would be being submissive or passive, and therefore giving up our rights and the responsibility to manage our rights in favor of managing the other person's rights and allowing the other person's rights to trump our rights. So I want you to think about, how assertive are you every day? How much do you stand up for what you believe in? How much are you able to assert yourself while managing to be a great listener, while accommodating the other person's point of view, but by not necessarily agreeing to everything they have to say, but certainly including their views and opinions in the decisions or the results that you produce? It's really, really important that we relate to others. It's extremely important that we understand that everything we do is based on the perceptions we have of the realities that we live in. And just as we have our own perceptions to create the realities we live in, other people have perceptions that create the realities they live in, even if they are in the same room with you. So, assertiveness allows you to listen in to that reality, to listen in to understand what could be the perceptions that are fueling and financing and funding that reality, and how common can we make our realities, not by giving up what we perceive, but by maybe amending, by maybe tweaking, by maybe joining, by merging our perceptions and our realities together. Assertiveness is one of the ways to manage a balanced, emotionally intelligent conversation, communication, and how we live with each other and the results that we deliver. Think about it. Ask yourself, where do you lie? And you could go to the net and find a host of assertive, submissive, aggressive communication assessments that will allow you to see your scores. Now, invariably, we tend to mark ourselves higher than we are. And generally, most people are very happy when they see their assertive scores are the highest from the aggressive or the passive scores. There's one thing to keep in mind. There is a norm that you have to look at. By and large, depending on, of course, the assessment you're doing and how they've constructed it, your assertive scores should be more than the sum of your scores of your passive scores and your aggressive scores. So it should not just be the highest, it should be the highest by far. And this is not really about how well you understand assertiveness, but how much you actually practice it. Can you really make it happen? Answer the assessments with honesty, because the only person that you are trying to help is yourself. And by answering it in a way that you deny yourself that kind of window into what you are really doing, you're probably denying yourself an opportunity to move forward with the right relationships and the right results. Keep in mind that there is something called passive aggressiveness. This is about being passive most of the time, feeling really bad about it, and when the other person's attention is turned away, using that opportunity to strike back. Now, you may think that that is something that you are entitled to because the other person has taken advantage of you. But let me tell you, that's probably one of the most hideous ways of communicating your relationship, your trust, the accountability and responsibility in the relationship. Remember, we teach people how to treat us. So if you feel taken advantage of, check and ask yourself, what are you letting go? What rights are you releasing? What responsibilities are you not taking for yourself? And how do you measure up to what you are doing in the relationship to manage that? Think about that, and the next time we meet, we can talk again about emotional intelligence and the way you practice it, not just in the way you communicate, but also in the way you behave, in the way you relate, in the way you manage those relationships, in the way you understand yourself. How do you bring yourself into powerful, equal relationships? How do you manage teams at work? How do you get those teams to be able to do things that you would like to do in a particular way and allow them the freedom of expression to do things in their way? What about your ego? And what is it shouting out at you as you seem to release what you think are your rights to allow other people to manage the life that you normally want to lead from the front and from way in the front? There is one way of leading that is emotionally intelligent, but it takes a little understanding because it's all about not leading, but leading by coaching. And it's often called leading from behind. So think about that. And the aspect of servant leadership, where you are still a leader, but you serve. So now that would take a lot of emotional upheaval and managing the usual emotions that come to the fore when you know that you are going to take second step, second seat, back seat, maybe the way we describe things, in the way we manage relationships, life, and results. But it's not really that, right? So think about that. And the next time we come across and talk to each other, we probably have a thing or two to say about it. Bye for now. Thank you very much for listening in. This is Dexter Valles wishing you a great day.